What's going on YouTube? I'm Scotch.
And I'm Sniff.
And we're Scotch and
Sniff.
Sniff.
And today we're going to be talking about, I wanted to change that. Okay.
What do you want to change it to?
I want to change what we're talking about today. Oh, and there's another video that I want to record. I guess I should have been clear about this. There's lots that I want to do. We're back with a new session. It's been a while since we've gotten together because of COVID and...
hence the hair.
Yeah, you actually have hair, which
hair.
is wild.
Wild
to me.
Yeah.
I've known this guy his whole life since he's my little brother, and like I've never seen him with this much hair.
Yeah, it's a lot of hair.
Actually, now that I think about it, like in our whole lives, I don't think I've ever seen you with this much hair.
Except for when I was like a kid, like
No,
a real
even
kid.
then you did like a rat tail, like way back in the day, and like in Korea, but man. Anyways, so COVID, haven't seen anybody in a long time. Obviously, very socially anxious, some of us. So today we're going to be talking about a topic. If you've ever found yourself on YouTube,
Any social medias.
Social media. If you've ever found yourself on Facebook, especially in some of the whiskey groups there, sometimes people will post something and I'm just like, that's scientifically untrue.
Or categorically untrue.
Or just plain untrue. People will post things and I'm like, where did this idea come from?
Well, we live in a time where facts, or rather opinions, are facts, or vice versa, or it doesn't even matter what's true or not. But when it comes down to it, it's good to establish the fact of what you believe in, especially in the whiskey realm. If you like it, if you don't like it.
Right, some of the stuff in the whiskey realm is definitely opinion-based, like how you feel about your palate and what you're tasting. But some stuff in the whiskey world, it's definitely scientifically based and people are just making stuff up.
Yeah.
So we came up with 10 things that you might have seen online, or maybe you believe them. If you do, this is going to be weird. But if you don't and you've just seen them, maybe you've rolled your eyes at these too. So let's just get started.
Let's get started.
All right, number one would be that, I saw this and I couldn't believe it, but that if you buy more expensive alcohol, it's smoother and you won't get a hangover.
Oh. So
it sounds like good marketing.
It does sound like good marketing. One of my pet peeves is the whole smooth factor. Smooth is the surface of a table, or smooth is a criminal, but not necessarily smooth being whiskey. Not a DJ. That's very rough and
no, but like vinyl is very smooth.
Oh, actually, it's very rough. That's how sound and the needle.
Listen, overall, fingers.
Back to it. So, and then the whole not giving you a hangover thing, I think that really comes down to like alcohol in your body, lack of water.
But here's the thing. If you're drinking more expensive alcohol, odds are good you're drinking less of it anyways because you're not trying to kill a $400 bottle of something.
That's not necessarily true.
No, I was just going to say, because if you're drinking less, then maybe you're not going to get drunk, which will probably help with the hangover because that's just dehydration and drunkenness.
Maybe, possibly, yeah.
It just seems silly. So I don't know where it came from, but it's weird to me that it's even an idea that's out there. But moving on to the next one.
Wait, but more expensive alcohol is not necessarily smoother or
no, of course not.
Not as fiery or not as like alcohol burny, because sometimes more expensive will have a higher ABV, alcohol by volume. So that will in turn sometimes be more hot on the palate.
It's a sometimes thing, though.
It's a sometimes thing.
See, here's the thing. Price doesn't dictate anything about the whiskey. Color doesn't dictate anything about the
Facts.
whiskey. There's so many, I don't know, there's so many things that we're told to believe in the whiskey world that just have nothing to do. They don't correlate. So there are good cheap whiskeys. That's why you're here. There are good middle range whiskeys. That's also why you're here. And there are good expensive whiskeys, which maybe we'll review sometimes, but like that's mostly why none of us are here. Like expensive whiskey channels, they exist. That's not who we want to be. So.
But we definitely buy expensive whiskeys.
Yeah, that's for another video.
Yeah.
Anyways, so okay, the second thing that I've heard a lot of people say is adding water is sacrilege.
To me, adding water is a preference. If you enjoy water in your whiskey, if you've imbibed with a Johnny Walker Red and you've put water in it, if you have
got enough water in it,
a Vicky 21 and you want to put water in it to open up the floral characteristics, if you have a Macallan 21 or a Macallan Lalique number 6, and you want to put water in it, that's up to you.
Absolutely.
It's your whiskey. You paid for it, presumably. Yeah.
If somebody else paid for it, it's even better to put water in.
Exactly.
Then you know which way you like it best.
Exactly. So whenever he has expensive whiskeys, then I'll make a cocktail from it.
I don't know about this, but yes, that's probably true. But the thing about water is a lot of people don't understand there's science behind this. So there have been a couple articles that have been going around, one on Forbes and one on a few other places, which I'm sure just reposts, that have been about specifically adding water to whiskey. So inside of whiskey, you've got aldehydes and esters that are making up the chemical compounds that are giving you the flavors that you're tasting. And some of those compounds are hydrophilic and some of them are hydrophobic. So some of them are attracted to water and will create new compounds, and some of them are hydrophobic and they'll literally repel from water and it'll break certain compounds and flavors. So what you do, you're not taking the whiskey and it's not sacrilege. It's not like you're ruining anything, but maybe. It depends on the flavors that you like. So you could be creating good flavors you like, or you could be destroying the good flavors you like. But the only way to find out is to put a little bit of water in it and try it and see.
Exactly, and sometimes we will try whiskeys first neat, and then we'll try them with a little bit of water, adding a little bit more water. Sometimes whiskeys can be drowned in water, and then more things get opened up, more characteristics.
Or it can ruin it. Some whiskeys we've had where you add water, like Pappy Van Winkle 23, perfect example. Add water to it, Oak Monster. You're literally destroying the good vanilla
tannic,
flavors.
all the wood comes through, and all the nice like caramel and the sweetness just disappears.
Dead. Okay.
But you need to try. I think that's the one.
Yeah, you should absolutely try it. In the same vein as water, though, you've got adding ice.
Adding ice is the devil.
So this is a little different than water, because water will react with those compounds, but ice actually tends to, due to its temperature alone, break up a ton of compounds just willy-nilly.
Shockingly. I mean, ice is a lot colder than water, and it probably hits, the rest of the compounds a lot more difficult, or a lot at a higher strength. There you go. And yeah, to the detriment.
It's just high-proof water. Ice is just high-proof water.
Huh. That's an interesting way of putting it. But in the end, if you've had your whiskey with ice all your life, and that's how you like to drink it, and that brings out the characteristics that you enjoy,
bingo.
Keep drinking it with ice.
Who's
to tell you?
A thing I see a lot that pops up is using top shelf whiskey to make cocktails is a sin. But here's the thing. So it's just like there's a brand of circular food with toppings on top that says better ingredients, better whatever that brand says, because they sell this better donuts. And so it's the same thing with whiskey cocktails. Like, I don't know if you've ever gone to a fancy bar, Jack Rose, like we just have that in our backyard. So it's nice because when you have better ingredients, it does make better cocktails. And I hate to say this, but like better whiskeys, a lot of times will make a better cocktail. So it's kind of nice.
And that again depends on what you're looking for. So more expensive whiskeys sometimes have more apparent flavors, or maybe you need to be more of a, I guess, you've had more whiskeys, have tried more whiskeys, and can pick out nuanced flavors. So you have to remember when you're making a cocktail with a whiskey that has more characteristics and more flavors, being able to blend all of those different flavors with something that you normally would blend with, like, let's say a Johnny Walker Red making a lemon drop or something like that, or not a lemon drop, a whiskey sour. It's going to be easier to pair those notes with, like a caramel flavor, the vanillas, and then the oak with lemon. But if you put something like a Bruichladdich 22 in there, you're going to get a lot more of like the heather, the earthy tones, the hay, and then trying to blend that with lemon, it gets a lot more complicated. You might just need lemon zest, or maybe just like a spritz of lemon, or maybe just like lemon-coated sugar at the end, and then you're good to go. Moving on to the next.
Cool.
Moving on to the next subject.
You can tell he was really excited about getting those flavors of expensive whiskeys to really come out in cocktails. And that's part of the fun of cocktails, right? A cocktail should be an amalgam of things, a gathering of things, flavors together that come up with a better flavor. It's just like pairings. You pair because A plus B equals some transcendent third, this C that just tastes amazing. And so that's always the goal there, just like with cocktails. So nothing changes.
And when it comes down to it, if you want a simple cocktail, you can have a simple cocktail. If you want a fussy cocktail, you can have a fussy one that's got like accoutrement on top of it. I've seen a margarita that has, fried chicken.
A Corona on top.
Or a Corona on the top. Oh, Corona-ritas are actually really good. But moving on to the next subject.
All right.
Expensive whiskey is overrated.
I wonder where this comes from a lot of the times, because I'll see somebody say like, oh, blah, 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 whiskey is super overrated, because nobody can have it and it's allocated and it's expensive. But like, I love on Facebook calling those people out. I'll be like, have you ever tried it? It's funny because I just did that last week. Somebody was like, oh, Pappy Van Winkle is terrible, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I didn't mean to touch the microphone. Pappy Van Winkle is terrible, blah, blah, blah. And like, I literally just posted, have you ever tried it? And the guy was like, you called me out. No, I've never tried it. Sad face, sad face. And I was like, then why are you giving this opinion saying that it's overrated if you've never even tried it. Like,
Why spread something like? Is that because you kind of got hurt in the feels and you didn't get a little
like
glass?
if you're getting things from trusted sources, like if somebody said like, oh, Subaru cars are less reliable because their head gaskets blow, I'd be like, I know, because the numbers show that. Scientifically, you can look at the statistics behind it. But for whiskey, something that's very, very specific to people's palates, and you're like, oh no, like, oh, it's super overrated because all my friends said that it's terrible. Like, it doesn't work the same way. Like, your palate's completely different. You really need to try it yourself to really figure that out.
Exactly. Or if you want to be a troll and you want to just do that, that's cool too.
Well, welcome to Facebook.
Yeah.
All right, so in the same vein as that, I see this posted a lot. I just saw it posted this morning. We were talking about it. But somebody said, no whiskey. This morning, I had written, no whiskey is worth more than $100. But this morning, literally a guy said, no whiskey is worth more than $200. And I was like, that's impossible. If you look at the price of, like, let's just look at it outside of the whiskey, outside of the name, just scientifically alone. The process of making the whiskey, owning all the stuff that you need for the stills, be it column stills, pot stills, whatever. Storage time for the whiskey, purchasing barrels, all of that stuff adds up. So can you make whiskey at a cheaper, like in America, we have wood barrels that are only like $100. That's what it costs to make these barrels. So of course we can get bourbon at a lot cheaper prices. But if you look at some of these European scotches that are done in, European oak, and these barrels cost $1,500 for a barrel. You're looking at 15 times the price for the wood alone, not including storage time or anything else. So there's a lot that goes into a whiskey to say that no whiskey is worth more than X dollars. It's impossible. You can't say that.
And not only that, but then also how much you feel you want to spend is your perception, your value, whatever you want to, if you want to save up your ducats and get $1,000 and buy $1,000 bottle, it's worth it to you. You obviously thought, hey, I want that $1,000 bottle. I don't know what it tastes like. I've read reviews on it. That's all I'm sticking by. But I'm going to go ahead and make that leap. And that's good on you. If it's not good, you're out of luck. But hopefully you saved your money wisely, and it was no hurt to your wallet.
You're literally making me think of like Jura 30. I saved $600 for Jura 30, and it tasted like cheese balls.
Yeah.
Like literally like rotten cheese balls and feet. It's so disgusting.
I didn't enjoy it.
No offense, Jura 30. I mean, lots of offense because it didn't taste good. But
a lot of
the waste of money.
Coming down to it though, a lot of the Jura region has some funky flavors within their whiskeys.
This was
cheese balls.
Yeah, it was bad. It was super bad. It was rotten, stale cheese balls. So yeah, but that was the same time that I bought like a Balvenie 30 and a Highland Park 30, and both of those were over $800. Absolutely delicious. So can some whiskey be worth more? Yes, absolutely. Is it worth more just in the time and, like you said before, the knowledge of the whiskey maker themselves making the whiskey? Yeah, it's absolutely worth more. But in the grand scheme of whatever your pocket says, that's what it comes down to. If your pocket doesn't think it's worth more than $100, that's your pocket. Somebody else's pocket thinks Leak 72 is worth $150,000 because it just sold. Like, we all have different pockets.
Well, and then you're factoring in rarity, exclusivity, the ability, name,
luxury,
what the bottle is made of, crystal versus glass.
Ooh.
So it's there. Yeah, those are different factors. But in the end, is it worth it to you? That's something that only you can answer.
Yeah. This next one we're going to is one of my absolute favorites to talk about, and you guys know this because it's cat anus. A lot of people believe that all Scotch is smoky and peaty. All of it. Like, there are people who literally, they got introduced by their overzealous Peathead friend who was like, let's try some Lafroig, let's try some Ardbeg nastiness, let's try some, I just got some brand new Colila cat anus. Like, and that's what they got introduced to, and that's what they believe all Scotch tastes like. But the problem is, it's like 10% of Scotch whiskeys. The other 90% is sweeter, Speyside, Highland, Lowland, like.
Have you ever tasted cat anus?
It's
such a specific.
You haven't. Listen, a lot of people ask that question, and I only have one answer.
Don't say yes.
Moving on to the next one. A lot of people think that single malt scotches. It's funny because we're like, when you're inside of the whiskey community and you're inside of the whiskey echo chamber, a lot of people believe like all there is single malt scotch. But single malt scotch actually makes up less than 20% of the exports from Scotland. But it's over 30% of the value. It's like 18.8% of all the exports from Scotland. So single malt scotch is barely a fifth. It's a drop in the bucket compared to blended and everything else.
And what's the number one most selling whiskey? The whiskey brand, Johnny Walker. But
is it for the world?
Yeah.
In Scotland it's Famous Grouse.
Famous Grouse,
which is also a blend.
But for I think it's China and the rest of the market, I think it's just
JW?
Johnny Walker Red.
Ew, what?
Yeah.
Well,
I'll have to check those facts, but Johnny Walker is the #1 most sold whiskey.
yeah, but red though?
Yeah. There are, I'm sure back in the day.
60s red. Yes.
Yeah, back in the
That
day,
bottle
in the
was big.
60s, we luckily came up with a bottle of 1960s Johnny Walker Red, and there's beautiful caramel notes, and it wasn't open, so it's not from oxidation. It was
a fresh bottle.
It was a fresh bottle from the 60s, never cracked, and it's amazing. And we compared it to a 2017 Johnny Walker Red, and it was like, it's the difference.
Night and day.
It's night and day. Gasoline and and like, I don't know,
Ooh, kerosene.
golden syrup. It was completely different. But moving on to the next one.
Second to last one, the penultimate, which does not mean ultimate, it means second to ultimate. I like that word.
Pen means second.
I don't speak Latin. Pen is a mightier than the sword. Anyways, blank brand is overrated. I love seeing these posts constantly all over Facebook because it's the best. People are like, Macallan is overrated. Springbank is overrated. It's overrated. Baby Winkle's overrated. Buffalo Trace is overrated. Who cares? Like, this is one of the weirdest things to me in the world that people love to do. It's overrated to whom?
Yeah.
Like, it's overrated to somebody else. It's overrated to you. Fine. So it's overrated to you. Okay. Like, a lot of us like just regular Buffalo Trace. It's actually pretty darn good.
Yeah, he actually gave me a glass one time, just blind. He was like, hey, try this. And I tried it, and I was like, wow, this is really good bourbon. And he said, I bet you'll never guess what it is. And I didn't. And he said it was Buffalo Trace, and he had this big 175 bottle.
Thank you, Costco.
From Costco.
$35.
Yeah, and I was really surprised. Surprised because I don't drink Buffalo Trace just neat on its own. That's definitely a cocktail one. And then surprised that it was just so, like, the flavors were really great. And that's $35.
Yeah. So sometimes things are overrated because your flavor profile doesn't like it, but sometimes
still,
you find things are great.
Still, I wouldn't say that that's overrated. All the rest of the stuff is overrated. It's a different price market.
That's all it is.
And that's why we do things like, best whiskeys under 25, best whiskeys under 50, best whiskeys under 100, and then, Christmas bottles or anniversary bottles or something like that. Because every occasion, there's a whiskey for it.
Voila. And our last misconception that's out there in the whiskey world, actually, we're going to leave it open to you guys. So it's been a while since we made a video. We know we're a bunch of slackers or COVID, whichever you'd like to believe. All the above. But we're leaving the last one open to you guys. So we only gave you 9, I'm sorry. That's not clickbait, it's just we gave you 9. Totally. We wanted to leave 10 open for you to leave in a comment down below because there are a lot of other misconceptions I'm sure that I see that we didn't have room to fit in this video. So go ahead and post a comment down below and let us know what else you've heard, because I just want to know what other craziness people have in their heads about whiskey. It's wild sometimes. Like, I would have never thought to hear somebody say, more expensive whiskey doesn't give you a hangover. Like, what? That has nothing to do with a hangover.
Yeah. The only thing that's true about is tequila.
What?
I mean...
So like, comment, subscribe. Definitely comment and let us know down below, what whiskey misconception you've heard, because we want to know what you guys have heard too. Yeah. And it's been a minute, so let's have that conversation. Also, thank you to Mike and Daniel, as usual, because you guys are ridiculous Patreon supporters. And without you guys, I wouldn't keep sending you guys weird stuff. So, have a good one. Yeah, that's right. I've been sending stuff to Patreon supporters.
What kind of weird stuff?
I can't legally say.
Oh.
It's like that. Not that kind of, not that kind of weird stuff. I mean, stuff that I just can't